So the next stage is to get out of ZBrush so we can get into an application like Maya or Topogun or any sort of topology software to rebuild the topology for this for animation purposes. Now, you want to make any necessary adjustments beforehand to the form, like the arms or even spreading the legs sometimes. We didn't really do a fat pass here, which is good. That makes it so we can actually get the legs. Well, you want to do that. And then the next thing that I tend to like to do is get rid of our layers and decimate so we can get this to a manageable vert count. So let's come down here to layers. And in the layers here, we're just going to click this bake all to bake all these down into a singular layer. If you have polypaint on, you might lose the polypaint. That's fine. We're not going to save this change. We're just using this as an export file. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to get this guy to have less polygons. So for Maya, around 500,000 is going to be where we want to be. And the way we're going to do that is using ZBrush's Decimation Master. You can access this under Z plugin. You can go to Decimation Master, and this is going to be what we want to use. Now, the percentage I like to use is 34%. This is a magical number one of my mentors gave me years ago, and I just stuck with it. But this is going to be the percentage it's going to reduce by. From there, what we want to do is select Preprocess Current, and this is going to move this into a pre-processing stage where it's going to analyze the mesh and find the optimal way to reduce this through decimation. Now, this is going to take a while, so explaining decimation, what decimation does is it essentially destroys your topology. That's why it uses the term decimate, right? Basically means to destroy. And what it's going to do is it's going to massively triangulate your model in an effort to reduce the polycount. And it does an amazing job. There is really no rival to this that I know of out of all the software I've used. This really does a beautiful job just reducing things down and making things super manageable. So what this is going to do is it's going to process this to find the best way to decimate it. And then after this, we're going to go through the decimation process, and that's going to reduce the polycount by the percentage that we put. So it's going to reduce it to 34% of the original. So we're going to see a massive reduction. We're going to go from 9 million to whatever 34% is. And we can repeat this process as many times as we want. Now, the challenge to this is the more we do this, the more likely it is going to damage our topology and change our form. But in reality, you can take this very low without losing your detail. This is how I 3D print things with high fidelity. 3D printers often have some sort of a cap to their topology. So a good way to get that detail is to use ZBrush's Decimation Master to decimate down to something a 3D printer can handle while maintaining all the detail you have in place. So I'm going to let this go and fast forward through this part, but that's the base gist of decimation. We'll go ahead and take a look at the next stage once this completes. All right, so it finished that. It took about 4 minutes, so a decent amount of time. The higher your polygons, the higher it takes. But the next step after you pre-process it is to click Decimate Current, and this is going to take just as long. So what this is going to do now is apply the decimation formula and reduce the polycount. So you'll see right now we're at 9.7. We'll see this go down once it finishes. So it actually did that really fast. That's good. But you'll see we're down to 3.3 mil. So that's not 500,000. So what do we do? Rinse and repeat. We're going to come up here to Z plugin. We're going to pre-process again. We're going to wait for this, and then we're going to decimate. And we're going to do this until this is in the range of whatever we need this for. So if we're going into a video game, you could have a targeted account. And yes, absolutely, we use decimated meshes in video games all the time. It's one of those hidden industry secrets we never want students to know. Decimated meshes make it into games all the time, especially for environmental stuff, not so much for characters. Also, target accounts for 3D prints, and of course, what we're doing, trying to get this into Maya. So I'm going to let this keep going. I'm going to let this process, and then we'll decimate it again. And I'll speed through this part so you don't all have to sit through this with me. Okay, so that one was a bit quicker. We'll just come in here and decimate this again, and that will reduce it once more down to 1 million. So we'll just rinse and repeat. So we'll just come back here to Z plugin, reprocess current, and it will get faster and faster and faster as the point count gets lower. All right, and then we'll decimate again. This time we are at 384,000. So at this point, we're ready to go into Maya. So the next step is to export this. We're going to come up here to export and just click the export button. We can find our location for this. So I'm going to put this into anatomy study. And I'm just going to put this into assets. I'll create a new folder here called decimated. And we'll just go ahead and make this our human anatomy study, decimated. And save. And then we can come into the subtools here, and we might as well grab the eyes. We can merge these down, hit OK. We don't need to decimate these. We can just click export, and we can just make these eye base. Save. And at this stage, we're ready to leave ZBrush for a while. So with great confidence, you can click that exit button, and voila, we should be good to leave. So the next stage is to launch into Maya. So we can kick that up. All right, so we have a new scene here. What we can do now is just come to File and Import, and we should be in the same directory here. So if I navigate here to my assets, decimated, and grab my decimated OBJ, I can click Import. I noticed the eye OBJ for some reason didn't get exported, which isn't a big deal. We could probably just find those, but there we go. That is going to bring this into here. I do want to get the eyes in here, though, just to kind of make sure they're all meshing together. But you'll see we have this in Maya. We have all our beautiful anatomic detail we modeled in here. And now we can get in our eyes. Now, we can actually just bring in the mesh we had with the eyes originally, if we can find that. If I'm not mistaken, we just put it in the base mesh file here we brought into ZBrush. And it actually looks like I put the eyes into there in the wrong folder. So I'll just click Import, and that will bring in the eyeballs. So now we should see the eyeballs in here. And it looks like they came separate. You can select both those together and just do a mesh combine. Be good to go. But this will serve as our base file for Retopology. So let's go ahead and save. I'm going to do a save scene as. We're going to place this into a new folder here, which will just be called Retopology. And inside of here, we'll go ahead and save this as our human Retopology 01 and save. Okay, so go ahead and get to this point, get your model decimated, get out of ZBrush so we can get set up and we can start Retopology. We're going to do a quick crash course on the Retopology tool so you can understand how to use it. And then we'll go ahead and start our study of animation topology for the human form.